Hello everyone, today I bring you the commentary of the sci-fi thriller action movie Resident Evil anime series. The first installment, Resident Evil: Degeneration. The T-virus researched by Umbrella has been leaked, Raccoon City is flooded with zombies uncontrollably, and the government drops an atomic bomb to destroy the city of 100,000 people. As a result, the stock of Umbrella plunged and went bankrupt, and at this point, Will Pharmaceuticals decided to build a vaccine program in Haveldville. And to make sure that the tragedy of Raccoon City does not play out, Congressman Davis expressed his support for the project. This caused an outcry from the public, and Claire, a member of the Human Rights Organization department, flew to the city of Havertville. The aunt who picked up the airport had been waiting for the little girl Rennie for a long time. The aunt goes out to call a taxi and asks Claire and Rennie to wait together, when a man with a hat and a head bowed. Accompanied by bodyguards, Ryanie pointed at the man and shouted that he was Congressman Davis. The protesters came to protest in disguise as zombies. Claire stepped forward to expose him, and the security guards quickly arrested him, while another person also came over in a hurry. The security guard thought it was a fake zombie, but he didn't expect to be bitten on the neck just after walking over, and everyone knew that it was a real zombie when they saw the situation. Seeing this, the bodyguard stepped forward and dared to knock down the zombie with a gun, and at this time, the bitten security guard also mutated and bit on the bodyguard's leg, and the zombie who was knocked down just now also got up. Seeing this, the people immediately panicked, and when everyone fled, a long-haired man accidentally bumped Claire. Claire's attention is drawn to the fact that a passenger on a plane is infected with the virus and mutates. In the end, the plane lost control and rushed into the airport hall. Claire was shocked to the ground, and when she got up, she found that the passengers on the plane had become zombies. They got off the plane and began to attack others, and the police and the military jointly took control of the airport and blocked all entrances and exits. A makeshift military base was set up to ensure that the virus did not spread when Congressman Davis called for help, claiming that a total of 4 people were trapped in the VIP lounge at the airport. So the military sends Agent Leon to assist police officer Platinum Blonde and Soy Sauce to rescue the trapped people, and Leon tells Platinum Blonde and Soy Sauce that the zombies will attack anyone. Only by shooting the head can they be killed, and the camera pans to the first floor of the airport, where they hear the zombies' funeral songs. Wong and Platinum Blonde stepped forward to check alone, and Platinum Blonde stepped forward to check alone, and when she opened the door, she saw a person lying inside. So he hurriedly stepped forward to help him, but this person had turned into a zombie and was about to bite her. At the critical moment, Leon arrived to save Platinum Blonde in time, and the other zombies in the room also stood up when they heard the sound. The soy sauce guy who arrived shot wildly, and the zombie was knocked to the ground and slowly climbed up, and Platinum Blonde realized the seriousness of the situation. In the VIP lounge, Claire hears someone shouting for help, so she picks up an umbrella as a weapon and goes out to rescue, and meets Leon at the end of the corridor to help her deal with the zombies behind her. Then the group went to the break room, because the zombies were slow to move and the hall was relatively empty, so Leon decided to take everyone to escape directly from there. Everyone killed all the way and moved slowly. Brother Soy Sauce was unfortunately bitten by zombies, and he knew that he would also mutate, so he decided to stay behind the pad. Fighting for everyone's chance to escape, Leon took everyone to the airport hall to deal with the zombies in front of him. A few people finally escaped without danger, and then the army began to sweep the airport to completely clean up the zombies here, and Leon received a call from his boss to learn that the airport incident was caused by a T-virus infection, and it was an attack by terrorists. It seems that the T-virus is likely to have been leaked to the black market by the former Umbrella company, and the picture turns to several trucks full of vaccines. Slowly driving into the temporary base in the night, Dodgen, the chief researcher of Will Pharmaceutical, said that the T-virus was spreading throughout the country. So the vaccines were approved for the market, and these are all the vaccines that can be collected so far. At this point, Leon came out to confirm what Dawn had said, and in the middle of the night, an explosion broke the silence and destroyed all the trucks full of vaccines. Leon suspects that what has happened in the past few days is the work of terrorist groups, and they want to get the truth about Raccoon City. Dig deep into who is behind it, and if they don't get the truth, they will spread the T-virus across the country at midnight. Leon asks Dodgen to go back to the Institute to see if the data for the development of the vaccine is missing, and Claire remembers the long-haired man who had bumped into her at the airport and found out that his name was Miller and that he was a radical among the rebels, and everyone felt that these incidents were incidental. It may have something to do with him, but Platinum Blonde hurriedly said that it was impossible because Miller was her brother, and the group decided that Platinum Blonde would take Leon to find Miller. Claire followed Dawn back to the Institute to check the vaccine data, but she didn't expect Platinum Blonde to come to Miller's house with Leon. The place has been engulfed in flames, and Platinum Blonde picks up the family photo that has fallen on the ground, and it turns out that Platinum Blonde participated in a rescue mission when he first joined the police force. Because of her recklessness, 3 SRT officers were injured and remorseful, and her brother told her that if you don't try to save every life, then you can't save anyone. This sentence makes Platinum Blonde regain his confidence, but the brother seems to have lost himself in his faith. Here Claire and Daw came to the Research Institute, and Duan introduced the protection mechanism here, which is divided into 4 areas according to the danger level, and once a virus leaks, the system will start a self-destruct program. After completely destroying the leaked area, the two of them went to the office, and Duan's expression became very unnatural after receiving a call from the counselor. Claire sees this situation and asks about the content of the call, and Dog thinks twice and tells Claire that he and Davis have joined forces in private, obtained the G virus from the black market and developed a vaccine for greater benefits, and Davis was one of the masterminds who blew up Raccoon City that year. Hearing this, Claire quickly took out the phone and wanted to tell Leon about the situation here. Just then, Dog said that the server was down, and after saying that, he got up and left, and Claire told Leon about the G virus on the phone. Suddenly, the office phone rang and it was Dowan calling, saying that a suspicious person in Area 4 had planted a bomb here. Claire walked to the window and saw that Miller had come out with a box and there was an explosion, and when Claire woke up, she found the Institute in shambles. He was also injured in the calf, and when the camera turned, Leon rushed to the Research Institute with Platinum Blonde, and found that the passage had been blown up, and the two decided to split up and assemble in the inner courtyard. At the elevator entrance, Leon meets the injured Claire, who says that Miller is in the Institute and is carrying the G virus, and Leon puts her in the elevator to get her out of the place first. On the other side, Platinum Blonde came to the hall and saw a syringe on the ground, and saw Miller kneeling on the ground in pain after injecting the virus. It turned out that Miller knew the truth about Raccoon City and vowed to make it public. So he injected the virus into his body, so that all people could understand the dangers of the virus, and in order to prevent the tragedy of Raccoon City from happening, he installed a bomb to blow up the Research Institute. As soon as the words fell, the soldiers rushed in and surrounded Miller to kill him, but at this time, Miller's body began to mutate due to the injection of the G virus. The bullets couldn't hurt him at all, and Miller knocked over several soldiers with a single move, and he had lost his mind and walked towards Platinum Blonde. Leon, who arrived at a critical moment, interrupted the stairs above and pressed Miller. Just then the system sounded an alarm, and the Institute was about to explode in 5 minutes. Leon and Platinum Blonde put the wounded soldier in the elevator, and they had to take the next one because of the number of people, but Miller was crushed under the stairs. Mutated again and climbed up, he jumped up and smashed down the rising elevator, and all the soldiers received their lunches. Miller then comes up to Platinum Blonde and tells her that because you are related by blood, he wants to capture you and reproduce. At the last moment of the explosion, Leon jumped into the pool with the Platinum Blonde, and only escaped by narrowly, and the protection mechanism was automatically activated after the explosion. The Institute will crash into 4 areas in turn according to the danger level, and Leon breaks the glass and is washed out by the water to find that the hull has crashed. And Miller was also crawling towards them, and the two of them quickly ran towards the level 0 area that had not yet crashed, and as soon as they came to the O-class area, Leon was slapped back by Miller. The level 4 area that was about to fall, Leon did not dare to delay and successfully jumped to the level 3 area before crashing. On the other side, Miller drove Platinum Blonde to a dead end. He looked at the family photo that fell on the ground, and the last trace of humanity in his heart was awakened, so he desperately controlled his body not to hurt Platinum Blonde. Before crashing in the level 0 area, Wong arrived in time to hug Platinum Blonde, while Miller fell into the endless abyss with the level 0 area. Due to Miller's disappearance, the Institute's self-destruct procedure was lifted, and Leon and Platinum Blonde were finally saved, and Claire did not leave, but went to the Central Control Center. When it turns out that everything that happens here has been recorded, Senator Davis arrives on a plane, and Claire scolds him for secretly conducting G-virus research in order to sell vaccines, and wanted to expose his involvement in this terrorist act, but Davis looked confused, saying that he didn't know what the G-virus was, and he would never cooperate with terrorists, and only then did people realize that it was all a hoax by Dowen, who was on the phone with the leader of a terrorist organization. Show off everything that happened here. It turns out that all the horrors were planned by Dowen to show the power of the virus. He wants to sell the only T-virus, the virus vaccine and the G-virus variant video to the other party, because it proves the huge destructive power of the G-virus, and it will definitely sell for a good price. At this time, Leon, Claire, and Platinum Blonde appear in time to arrest him together, successfully stopping the spread of the G-virus, and the movie ends. The CG movie made in 08 was quite perfect at the time, although the plot was slightly flawed, but the scene of fighting zombies in it was quite shocking. But I have to complain, the one-eyed brother died too casually. The second installment, Resident Evil, Damnation. In the 20th century, the Soviet Union collapsed and many small countries declared independence. It was from this moment that a state called the East Slavic Republic was born. However, this small, newly independent country did not make its people happy. Some oligopolistic economies engage in politics. A puppet president was made, and as a result, the gap between rich and poor in the East Slavic Republic widened rapidly. Some people drive luxury cars, live in luxury houses, and spend a lot of money. Others went hungry for 6 meals in 3 days and did not have a single garment to wear. In the end, the poor people who couldn't stand it formed a rebellion. Preparations for the overthrow of the puppet president, that is, the beginning of the civil war in the East Slavic Republic on that day. However, the government forces were financially strong, well-equipped and heavily armed, and the rebels were pressed and beaten in the years-long exchanges that followed. Every year it was about to be annihilated with heavy casualties, but it was thought that the East Slavic Republic was a civil war. Almost as the victory of the government forces ended, a terrifying monster suddenly appeared on the battlefield. The appearance of the monster made the outside world suspect that someone had used biological and chemical weapons for the first time, and the United States sent Agent Leon for this reason. Investigate in the East Slavic Republic and vowed to find out which side used it. Soon, according to the guidance of the headquarters, Leon found the connector and prepared to learn some key information from his mouth. But now that the connector was seriously injured and couldn't speak, for a while Leon was completely stunned and didn't know what to do next. Just as he hesitated, there was a strange noise behind him, and a monster named Liquor crawled out of the ground and crawled on the ground. This thing is agile, powerful, and fully defended, and the rifle in Liang's hand is not painful or itchy when it hits the Liquor. Originally, in the face of such a ferocious monster, Liang must have confessed, but who knew that this thing was just about to gnaw off his big and round head. An old man suddenly appeared and motioned for the Liquor to stop quickly, so that Leon could save his life. However, the killing just now also caused him to fall asleep due to physical exhaustion, and when he woke up again, he found that he was rebel. He was tied up in a basement and tortured, and the old man was actually an elder in the rebel army. It belongs to a very prestigious type of person. This person is powerful because he can control those agile monsters. Of course, there is a price to pay for gaining this ability, and the Elder is able to control the lickers in the war. That's a lot of parasites injected into the body, and when there are parasites in the human body, the monster will see the person as a more prestigious kind. Willing to be commanded at will, but when a person is injected with parasites, this thing will gradually invade the human brain along the spine, and the host will lose their mind and become a zombie-like walking corpse. Obviously, the Elder's body is not as good as before, and he often can't stop coughing, and it is estimated that his corpse will be transformed soon. At present, there are two important figures in the rebel army by the Elder's side, this tall man named Mike, who is the leader of the rebels. And Chubby, next to him, is Mike's best comrade in arms, and they kidnapped Leon. I just think that this kid may have some important information on him, otherwise how could an American come all the way to this place? Maybe he will be kidnapped as a hostage, and he will be able to reap a lot of benefits in the follow-up negotiations with the government army. However, just as their wishful thinking took off, the terminally ill Elder coughed louder and louder. It even alarmed the enemy outside the house, and followed the sound of dozens of heavily armed government troops. He rushed into the cellar and tried to kill them all, but he didn't think about the three rebels. It was an instant reversal of the situation and the killing of all the enemies, but since this place has been exposed, it can't stay for long. Mike and Chubby had planned to take the Elder with them, but the man was now terminally ill and almost about to be transformed. Despite the heartache, all Mike could do was pull the trigger and kill him with a single shot. Now Mike and Chubby were planning to escape all the way back to the church headquarters along the secret passage in the cellar. In order to discuss with the brothers a battle plan to enter the presidential palace as soon as possible, and Leon is a very good kid. He had already broken free from his shackles and escaped in the chaotic moment of fierce fighting between the two sides just now, and now he was not prepared to have any more entanglements with the rebels. He wanted to get out of here as soon as possible to continue investigating the biological weapons, but he didn't expect to follow the secret passage all the way to the surface. But he accidentally ran into a little fat who was separated from Mike, and now this kid is hiding in the corner and shivering. It turns out that this tunnel is full of zombies, and these people were all Chubby's comrades in arms before the corpse transformation. In other words, he was afraid of the zombies and couldn't bear to fire at them, so he could only watch this thing get closer and closer to him. In the end, it was Leon who killed like crazy, and by the way, he saved this kid's life, so as to quickly return to the surface with him, and now Xiaopeng has trusted Leon very much. Not only was he willing to take it back to the rebel headquarters, but he even gave Leon his gun to save Mike. After all, this Mike is planning to attack the presidential building tomorrow, but the combat effectiveness of the resistance group is a bit stretched. In order to win this war, he was willing to sacrifice himself, and he also wanted to inject parasites into his body like the previous elders, thus being able to control monsters, but the cost of controlling monsters is not small. At most, Mike will lose his mind and become a zombie, and Chubby and Mike are friends who have known each other for more than 10 years. He couldn't bear to watch the other party die like this, so he asked Leon to hope that he could get those parasites before Mike. However, although Leon hurried to hurry, he was still a step too late when he arrived at the place that Chubby said. The potion had long since been taken away by Mike, and there was only an empty box on the ground, but Leon had not run in vain. Here he met an old friend, King Ada, who had come to investigate more clues about biological weapons. However, Ida Wong's investigation focused on government forces, and she approached the president as soon as she arrived posing as a special investigator for the United Nations. I hope to find out whether the government of the East Slavic Republic is secretly researching chemical weapons. As a result, the president found out his identity, and the two of them made a mess in the office on the spot, and it is worth mentioning that this president has served before. The instructor of the special forces is very skilled, and he subdued King Ida with a few tricks. However, just as the president was complacent, the alarm went off outside the house, and when he looked closely, it turned out that it was Mike who had killed countless lickers. Obviously, the bullets of the soldiers were very difficult to injure the monster at all, and there was no piece of armor left behind after a while. The president had no choice but to lower the security door in his office urgently, turning it into an extremely safe elevator and taking it all the way underground. I was going to use the secret weapon here to fight back, but now Mike and King Ida have already arrived here. The two of them were shocked to find out that the secret weapon of the government army turned out to be a parasite, as long as they injected this thing into their bodies. Was able to control an even more powerful monster tyrant, and now seeing that the situation was not good, the president immediately hid behind a safe house. Controlling several tyrants to kill, this monster is tens of meters tall and powerful. The round of lethality and defense was far above the liquor, which was not enough for Mike to then kill underground. Only then did he discover that the liquor, who had been so proud of him, was as brittle as an ant in front of the tyrant. Almost one punch at a time, they were easily dealt with, and it was obvious that they had no chance of winning against Mike, a terrifying monster like the tyrant. The only thing he could do was to clamp his tail and slip quickly, and immediately got into the elevator and escaped to the surface. But the president hated the rebels to the core, so she manipulated the tyrant to chase to the surface. Preparing to hammer Mike and Leon into mud, Mike originally wanted to manipulate his liquors to fight back. As a result, he was pressed to the ground by the tyrant and hammered, and seeing that his companion died too miserably, there was a liquor who chose to escape. As a result, he didn't run 2 steps before he was chased by the tyrant and smashed on the tanker truck with a punch, and now he saw that the tank was broken and the oil was bubbling up. Liangna, who was hiding on the side, seized the opportunity to shoot wildly and blew up the car on the spot. I thought that such a huge power would kill the tyrant on the spot, but after being scorched by the flames, not only did it not die. On the contrary, it has completely evolved and become more powerful as a whole, and at this moment, the tyrant retreats from his hands and tears up several missiles, and he can teleport to Liang's eyes and press them against the wall. Mike, who saw that Leon was about to detect something wrong, beckoned his cannibals to attack the tyrant, and drove straight towards the tyrant in an armored car parked on the side of the road. But after all, he still underestimated the power of this monster, and the tyrant was able to lift the armored car directly with his bare hands. Fortunately, when the car was about to be overturned, Leon hurriedly sat in the car and turned the battery. A shot knocked the tyrant's head off and killed him on the spot, thinking that with this thrilling victory, the two were finally saved. It's just that just when they were about to breathe a sigh of relief, they found that 2 full-fledged tyrants rushed out of the presidential palace. It took a lot of effort to kill one of these things, and now the 2 of them are coming out again, so it's not necessarily cold, just when the disheartened Leon and Mike are ready to sit on the ground and wait for death. The sky suddenly flew over the fighter plane, directly bombing these 2 monsters into slag on the spot. It turned out that the United States and Russia saw that the government of the East Slavic Republic was gone, so they began to join forces on the battlefield. Immediately after they expelled the plutocratic oligarchs headed by the president, they formed a provisional government to divide the fruits of victory. Of course, when Mike saw the president overthrown, he finally felt at ease. Now he is deeply infiltrated by the parasite, it is getting weaker, and he coughs. Soon to lose his life, Mike's only wish at the moment is that Leon can kill himself as soon as possible. However, injecting the parasite into the body is not the only way to die. Because the parasite infects a person's spine first and then goes to the brain, now Leon fired a shot. Breaks Mike's spine so that the parasites can no longer invade his brain, allowing Mike to survive, but the spine breaks. This means that Mike has been paralyzed and has been confined to a wheelchair ever since, but now even he can no longer stand up. The corners of his mouth are smiling. After all, what could be more important than a small life? This handsome old man was so miserable that on the day of his wedding, the military dropped a bomb on him to congratulate him. By the time he got up from the rubble, his wife had been blown to the ground of only one arm, and since then, he has been on the path of revenge. It has become the world's largest arms dealer, mainly selling biological and chemical weapons to terrorist organizations, in short, specifically against the United States. He even converted those relatives who died in the explosion into biological weapons, and carried out a number of biological and chemical attacks, which made the US government anxious. On this day, Ace's special team received a task, which was to capture the handsome old guy and rescue the undercover agent who was held hostage by him. When they arrived at a villa, they were attacked by a group of zombies instead of seeing the target person. Eventually, the squad was wiped out. Only Ace broke the window and escaped from the villa, and then he met the old handsome man, and the two fought together without saying a word. However, Ace was no match for him, and was knocked to the ground in a few blows, but the handsome old man did not kill him. Instead, he released the newly developed biological weapon, a zombie that can identify the enemy camp, just when Ace was about to be bitten to death. His teammates finally arrived to save him, but unfortunately, the undercover agent has been transformed into a zombie, and Ace is holding her corpse. With a roar of anger coming out of his mouth, he was in Chicago 4 months later, in a chemistry lab at a university. Professor Aka succeeded in developing a virus serum, and before he could hand over the serum to the government, the handsome man's henchman, Bo May, infiltrated the laboratory and released a large number of biochemical viruses, and it didn't take long for all the personnel in the laboratory to mutate. This also includes Aker, but with great perseverance, she injects herself with serum before mutating. The serum neutralizes the biochemical virus in her body, and AKA gradually returns to normal, after which she walks out of the laboratory. I want to escape from here as soon as possible, but I meet an assistant who is turned into a zombie, and I don't say that there is a serum? Why don't you inject the assistant? I have to hammer someone to death. Then Team Ace arrives at the lab and rescues Aker, both of whom were survivors of Raccoon City a few years ago. So I knew each other for a long time, and the reason why the handsome old guy attacked the laboratory was because AKA developed the serum. Greatly hindered his revenge plan, which is why he wanted to kill Aker, and the two found their old friendly Wong. Wanted him to protect AKA together, but as everyone knows, their every move was monitored by the handsome old guy. While Aka was going to the bathroom, Bo May suddenly attacked and arrested her, and another of the handsome guy's men was a big man. Also carried Gatling and shot at Wong and the two, but his marksmanship was really bad, except for Wong and the two who didn't hit, everyone else was killed. On the other side, AKA wakes up to find himself dressed in a wedding dress, tied to a wedding feast, surrounded by zombies in boxes. At this time, the handsome old man also appeared, and it turned out that AKA and his wife looked very similar, so the handsome old man was ready to marry her. Originally, this handsome old guy was not bad, and he had a car and a house, and his parents died, so maybe he didn't need to tie it up. AKA was quite willing, but he wanted to put his dead wife's arm on AKA's body. At this time, AKA couldn't accept it and rejected the handsome old man's marriage proposal, but in exchange for a severe beating. On the other hand, the two of them locked the handsome old guy in New York through the intelligence system, and learned that he was going to carry out a biological attack. In order to save Aker and prevent the handsome old man's biochemical attack, the two immediately took a plane to New York. At this time, the old handsome guy also sent a convoy of fuel tanks and began to release the virus in New York City, and it didn't take long for the virus to rage wildly. Those who inhaled the gas turned into zombies and began to bite the people around them, even those closest to them. The whole city was like the world was coming, and by the time the two arrived in New York, the biochemical attacks were still going on. The two had to go their separate ways, first to deal with the tanker truck, and then to rescue Aker, while the other members also flew planes to destroy the tanker. Bo May was affected by the explosion and fell to the ground, which was really a pity, and at the same time Wong was chased by two zombies and ran all over the street. Then the two converged and came to the old handsome guy's stronghold to save AKA, but what is more amazing is that Wong killed 7 in and 7 out of the zombie group. Not only did the hairstyle not mess up, There was not even blood on his body, which was a bit excessive, and at this time AKA was injected with the virus, and if he did not inject serum within half an hour, he would completely mutate. Later, Ace found AKA and was intercepted by the big guy, and after taking out the big guy with the help of incendiary bombs, he met the handsome old guy on the rooftop. The fight between the two was really a little embarrassing. Less than 2 meters apart, Lunya's shot missed the other party, and finally Ace threw the handsome old guy off the tall building. I thought it was over, but what I never expected was that not only did the handsome old guy not die, but the big guy, who was burnt before, didn't die either. So the two of them combined and turned into an extremely ugly monster, which looked like a hard stubble, and now it was Ace's turn to be beaten. I was almost pinched to death by the monster. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Guang arrived on a bicycle, a drift and a slip shovel tripped the monster, but then the monster grabbed it. Smashed directly into the wall. Guang shot like no one else. If it was an ordinary person, he would have been smashed incontinent. As soon as Guang saw that Guang could withstand it, he first went to look for the virus serum, leaving Guang to fight the monster alone. Sure enough, it was a good brother. Guang was once again knocked away by a monster punch, and he also took the opportunity to use a marksmanship that fell from the sky. It's a pity that it's useless, but it's still pinched in the hand by the monster, and the monster's nails suddenly stick out half a meter long. As long as he pokes it lightly, Guang will die, but the villains in the movie can't change the stinky problem of talking too much. I had to chirp and talk crookedly, and then the special team rushed over, and the girl in the helicopter didn't say a word. It was a laser cannon at the monster, which directly pierced the monster's shoulder, and several high-rise buildings behind it were also destroyed. The monster was also annoyed and angry at this time. He gave up dealing with Guang, jumped directly into the plane. After the nails passed through the plane and nailed the girl to the steel plate, Guang was not idle at this time, driving the motorcycle towards the monster. Look at the gun. That's not dead yet, and at this moment, Ace rushed, pulled out a grenade gun, and hit the monster in the heart with a single shot. The monster was blown into scum in an instant, and this time it was really too dead to die, after AKA inhaled the serum. Finally returned to normal, and subsequently, the airplanes the serum through the air. The zombies returned to normal after inhaling the serum, and if they regained consciousness and found themselves gnawing on a leg. Or if you are being gnawed, how bad your heart will be, and there is an Easter egg at the end of the movie. It's the old handsome guy's subordinate Bo May who didn't die. She stood in the ruins and looked ahead, her eyes were full of hatred. The fourth installment, Resident Evil, Death Island. The zombie shark swallowed the person in front of it in one gulp, and the two combined to form a giant fish monster. Its body was strange like a reptile, and the face was a real human skeleton, and the team immediately entered a combat state when they saw it. Jill set up her plasma rifle. Its shell can reach 20,000 degrees Celsius, and she will attack at the right moment. Just when everyone was relieved, the monster stood up again. Whether the protagonist group can escape from here or not, this is the latest action movie to talk about in this issue. On the day of Resident Evil, Death Island, American agent Leon was instructed by intelligence agent Harrigan to arrest Taylor, a mechanical engineering expert. Because this person is suspected of leaking scientific secrets to enemy countries, Taylor is currently being kidnapped by a mysterious organization, and Harrigan sends the group's truck route. Asking him to solve the problem today, Leon chases the truck on his beloved motorcycle, only to be intercepted by the female warrior, Maria. The other party's father once combined with the villain to do evil, and was killed by Leon and his companions, so Maria formed an imitation of the male protagonist. Leon shot and smashed the tires of the other man's car, but Maria rushed to the bridge and jumped onto Leon's motorcycle. Strangled the opponent's neck and jumped, and the high heels stuck on the main brake. Leon almost fell because of inertia. Maria then vanishes in place, his rescue plan fails, and a large number of infected people appear in San Francisco on the other side. Jill, a member of the BSAA, despite the dissuasion of Captain Chris, infiltrates the home of the infected person alone to investigate. She cautiously made her way to the second floor, where she found the hostess lying in a pool of blood, after Jill was sure that she was dead. Just as he was about to leave the room, the zombie man suddenly pounced, and Jill pulled it back and immediately shot him. But because he didn't hit the head, the man rushed over again and gnawed and scuffled with Jill. The other man kicked against the wall, grabbed the zombie and threw it to the first floor, and Jill pressed him and smashed it against the glass coffee table. Then a shot was fired in the head, and then Chris and others rushed to help, and he questioned why the other party acted without permission. Jill says that when someone is in danger, she doesn't wait for support until everyone returns to the base. Chris goes to Rebecca, who studies the zombie virus, and asks her if she has any eyebrows, and Rebecca analyzes 12 similar cases. It was found that all the infected people had no bite marks on their bodies, only small pinholes, and someone must have deliberately spread the modified T-virus. Rebecca knows about Jill's unauthorized actions last night and advises Chris not to blame the other party. Jill has been through so many traumas. Even being brainwashed by the enemy to hunt down her teammates, she is now back on the battlefield in a hurry to prove herself, and it is inevitable that she will act a little recklessly. Chris's sister, Claire, is investigating dead whales on the beach in San Francisco, and she finds huge bite marks on the fish. More than any known sea creature could attack, and with the T-virus detected in the wound, Claire collected a sample of the corpse. It was sent to Rebecca for further investigation, and after cross-checking all the case information, Rebecca found the infected people. After having been to Alcatraz near San Francisco, Jill and Chris immediately pretend to be tourists and go to Alcatraz to find out, and Rebecca calls on the way. Saying that a vaccine for a new strain had been developed, Chris was immediately relieved when he heard this, and the three of them came to Alcatraz's famous scenic spot, prison, which was originally a military fortress. Later, it was used as a prison for a long time, attracting many curious tourists, and a man's cry of pain was suddenly heard not far away. Someone was inexplicably infected by the zombie virus, and Chris hurriedly stepped forward to kill him. But soon the others also began to mutate, and the whole prison was in chaos, and the protagonist group immediately began to strafe, only to see zombies crawling and biting everywhere. Jill is knocked out of her pistol during the battle, and the zombie man throws her to the ground, and Jill kicks the other side. Slam the prison door shut and clip off the zombie's head, while Claire is protecting the survivors and trapping the zombie outside the prison bars. However, the table could not stop the attack of a large number of zombies, and the survivors who were not bitten also mutated inexplicably. All the way to the sewers, she shoots at the dead passers-by and goes over to check on the besieged police. The other party was also infected, and without saying a word, he rushed over, and Jill went up and smashed him with a few rifle butts. Then he used his strength to catch through the other party's head, and Chris was still killing, but Jill didn't return to the ground. Instead, he went into the depths of the sewers, but someone in the dark released a few liquors. He was the man behind the kidnapping of Dr. Taylor and the development of a new strain, Dylan, in 1998. Dylan is also a Special Forces soldier for the Umbrella Company, and he travels to Raccoon City with the team to assist in the evacuation of the Umbrella Company's executives. If a civilian tries to keep up, he can shoot him directly, which caused the Special Forces to be puzzled. What happened in Raccoon City, and why did it disregard the lives of civilians to transfer executives and government officials? After Dylan and the others landed, they were attacked by zombies, and he and his friend Xiao Jie locked their comrades in the cold storage. The two asked their superiors for support, but the other party asked to shoot all the infected, and Jie wanted to act as ordered, but Dylan didn't want to hurt his teammates, so he quickly stopped Jie. However, the other party still smashed the glass of the refrigerator, killing all the infected teammates, but he was also bitten. The two reported to their superiors again and truthfully explained that little Jie was bitten, and sure enough, the superiors asked Dylan to clear little Jie. The two good brothers can only kill each other, and Dylan grabs the medical kit and smashes it into little Jie's head. Until the other party died, he had the habit of hammering the ground with a blunt object. and one leg was wounded in the battle, leaving a disability whenever Dylan was emotionally unstable. He would hit the ground with his cane, and Maria, the female warrior who had appeared earlier, was now also working under Dylan. The first time the three protagonists landed on Alcatraz Island, they were already targeted by Dylan, and at this time Jill and the two siblings were separated. The signal from the communication equipment was also cut off, and she carefully advanced with her dagger in her hand, noticing a figure in front of her. Jill immediately rushes up to fight him, and after a few moves, she discovers that the person in front of her is actually Leon, who is chasing Dr. Taylor's whereabouts. Also came to Alcatraz Island, and the two worked together to deal with the zombie tourists, but unexpectedly, a licker suddenly crawled out of the water. The two of them held their breath and stayed where they were, not daring to move, because the licker lived in a dark environment all year round, and his eyes had deteriorated and had no vision. But her hearing is extremely acute, and she sees her tongue sticking out and approaching Jill, and the heroine dodges and knocks down the waste oil drum. Seeing this, Leon immediately killed the licker, but the opposing companion chased after him, and Jill didn't run far. Was wrapped around her ankle by her tongue. Leon grabbed her hand when he saw this, and then took out a pistol to shoot, but in the blink of an eye, his wrist was also entangled. Jill hurriedly shot to help the other party get out of trouble, and with the tacit cooperation of the two, he finally got rid of the eater's tongue. But these monsters rushed up one after another, and they couldn't finish killing them at all, so the two simply hid in the corner. Leon kicked the oil drum on the ground and detonated it with a bullet, killing all the eaters behind him. On the other side, the Chris siblings are looking for survivors, but the tour group is basically wiped out, except for a man with glasses who hides in a cabinet and escapes. The two couldn't leave him alone, so they took the man with glasses to act together, and encountered a zombie attack on the way. The Chris siblings rush forward and entangle the enemy, and kill them separately, and the glasses man is bruised in the process of dodging. Claire stepped forward to help the other party deal with the wound, and the two of them didn't know that this glasses man appeared out of nowhere. In fact, it was Dr. Taylor that Leon was looking for, and the other party was about to escape from Dylan's control, when suddenly the Chris brothers and sisters had a pain in their necks. The two were bitten by strange mechanical mosquitoes and immediately felt unwell, and Taylor was shocked to see this. He tried to run away, but he ran into Maria head-on, and all three were captured by the female warrior. Meanwhile, Leon and Jill are still exploring the sewers, and they sense a stream of air in the tunnel, so they follow the breeze to move the masonry of the wall. Found a mysterious laboratory. The hatching pool is filled with a large number of lickers, and the two stumble into Dylan's base. And found the biological drone there. Presumably this is Dylan's purpose in capturing Taylor, so that the other party can develop these mechanical mosquitoes and spread the virus through bites, and the two of them plan to burn down the entire hatchery base, but Dylan's voice suddenly sounded. He tells the two protagonists to go to Block 1, where the Chris siblings are waiting, and Gil and Leon soon arrive in Block 1. Chris and Claire were indeed locked inside, and Leon also recognized the glasses man as Taylor, and the two siblings were in a bad situation at this time. Mutations can occur at any time, and then Dylan finally appears. He keeps talking to divert the protagonist's attention, and a mechanical mosquito takes the opportunity to bite Leon. Maria stepped forward and fired the other party's pistol, which was a quick and effective way to infect Jill, and Dylan didn't let the mosquito bite Jill. Instead, he instructed the heroine to shoot her comrades before they mutated, which Dylan is really psychopathic. 17 years ago, he had to shoot little Jay, and now he has to test whether Jill will kill his comrades like himself in the same situation. Dylan wants to infect the entire human world, so that everyone can taste the relationship with siblings and friends. The pain of cannibalism. On the other side, Harrigan can't contact Leon, so he can only send a message to Rebecca. It is said that just a few hours ago, a man named Dylan stole the identities of Jill, Leon, Chris, and others. Now that the protagonists have lost contact with each other, Harrigan speculates that they must be in trouble. Rebecca heard that she brought the newly developed vaccine and followed the rescuers to Alcatraz Island to find the protagonist group. Unexpectedly, as soon as they landed on the island, they were attacked by the zombie great white shark, and the rescue team was wiped out. Rebecca had to sneak into the island alone with the vaccine, and when the scene shifted back to the prison, Jill was under unprecedented pressure. If Claire is not shot, Taylor, who is in the same cell as her, will be in danger, and if Claire mutates, the other party will definitely be bitten to death. But Jill remained unmoved. She had managed to regain control of her body, and she certainly didn't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. Hurting his friends who were fighting side by side again, Dylan on the side ran out of patience and simply shot Taylor himself. Seeing this, Leon detonates a flashbang to buy time, and Jill takes the opportunity to run into the sewers, where she must destroy the base hatching pool. Dylan guessed Jill's thoughts and also turned around and headed to the hatchery, ready to release millions of mechanical mosquitoes. Infected by humans all over the world, Claire, who has not yet mutated at the moment, stops the bleeding of Taylor's wound. The other party was moved by Claire's kindness, so he handed her the password to the drone backdoor program and then received a boxed lunch. At this time, Jill met Rebecca in the sewers and told the other party the location of Claire and the others, and Rebecca rushed to save people when she heard the words. Jill continued to rush to the hatchery, and just when Claire and the others were about to lose their support, Rebecca arrived in time to vaccinate the three. Succeeded in stopping them from mutating, but Maria soon chased after them, ready to kill Leon herself to avenge her father's death. The two fought without saying a word, and Maria's fighting ability and speed were far greater than Leon's, and he had no power to fight back at all. Can only concentrate on cracking the other party's tricks, Leon finally broke free from Maria's shackles, and Hung was still beaten by the other party. He kicked with all his might, and Maria slammed into the iron rod and died in the chest, and Jill finally reached the hatching pool. She tells Dylan that the serum has been developed and that he should stop being obsessed, but Dylan injects himself with a shot of the drug. He then jumps into the water and merges with the zombie shark, which forms a fish-like bioweapon and can even walk on land. Fortunately, Chris and others rushed to support, and the elite team officially assembled, and they dodged the huge tail of the fish monster. Leon took the opportunity to shoot the crane on the side, and the huge iron hook hung on the monster's head, and everyone took the opportunity to attack each other with heavy weapons. But this big guy has rough skin and thick flesh, and the ammunition is like cotton to no avail. Leon simply drives a car over and detonates it, and Claire and Rebecca enter the control room. Prepare to use the password given by Taylor to gain control of the drone, and at the same time accidentally discover the plasma rifle. Its temperature is as high as 20,000 degrees, which will definitely hit the monster hard, and she beckons her comrades to lure the monster over. Leon and the two drive to attract each other's attention and help Jill successfully hit the monster. But one shot wasn't enough to kill, the monster staggered back to its feet, and plasma rifle firing took a long time to recharge. Before the second shot could be fired, the monster broke the gun in her hand, and everyone had to find another way. At this time, Claire is about to finish off the drone, but Rebecca has an idea. She controls the drone. Let them infect monsters with a high dose of virus, and the toxin overload in the opponent's body will start to get out of control, and they will try to swim into open water to spread the virus. Jill is the first to catch the monster's attention, and she jumps into the water to lure her opponent under the gate. Leon and Chris teamed up to break the hinges with a fierce blast, only to see the iron door quickly close. Clamping the monster's head, the protagonist group successfully completes the mission and waits for the arrival of the rescue helicopter in the sunset. This is the end of the movie, directed by Japanese director Eiichiro Hazumi, which will be released in Japan and other places in 2023. Truth be told, the story is silly and cliché. The motives of the villains are simply untenable, but the game features two popular characters, a historic meeting between Leon and Jill. The Redfield siblings fight at the same time, and a group of old people return en masse, like a pure fan derivative work, and I think fans of the game still like it. If you put aside the character filter and feelings, this is a completely third-rate film. That's it for today. If you like it, please pay attention to the subscription. Thank you.